This week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and schools across the country will be focusing on trying to champion the need to talk about mental health and to support young people with the myriad issues that are going on in their lives right now. But one of the questions I come back to a lot in my work with Thoughtbox is, what does mental health actually mean? And with that, what is well-being? All of us have levels of mental health. It's like physical health. We all have it, and there are certain parts of our minds that don't feel so healthy at times, and certain parts of our minds that do feel healthy. And so to have mental health issues doesn't really make sense as a statement, and yet we are labelling children across the world with mental health stigmas. We're also in a positive scenario right now, in that mental health is being talked about, and we are working to really support and address, in particular, young people who are suffering with their emotional distress for various reasons. But one of the big markers for a school's success in dealing or with supporting the emotional well-being of children is well-being, and having positive well-being, or having something to do with well-being in schools, is really important in the kind of general Ofsted requirements and the school ethos, certainly across the UK. But what is well-being? And again, all of us can practice and inhabit elements of well-being, and all of us will have positive elements of well-being and negative elements of well-being. And it feels a little bit like there's a saturated market selling well-being into schools. I've been to quite a few conferences over the last couple of weeks and was quite flabbergasted just how many ways there are for a school to fix well-being, or bring in quick solutions to well-being. And I feel for teachers, I feel this sense of overwhelm that then comes with how to navigate this ever-growing market, and to know which resources are useful, which resources are actually going to be causing more problems than they are solving. There is an interesting article I will share after this blog called, or sort of focusing on mindfulness, and how mindfulness has become so popular with schools that actually it's almost become a commodity. And it can be quite a dangerous thing to be popping ideas into a school system that don't then have an embedded follow-up. So mindfulness is a very beautiful practice, and allowing our children to really slow down and to start to find peace and to feel connected to their emotions is an incredibly important skill. But without a support embedded in the school to sort of hold that space for what might come up in those peaceful moments, it can actually cause more problems than solutions. And again, with all of this work that's happening in our schools right now, I do keep coming back to the question of the need. So why are we not looking at prevention? And I know there is a real need to firefight right now. We have mental health or emotional distress issues skyrocketing across our schools, and 1 in 8 children between 5 and 18 or 19 are now being diagnosed with a mental health illness, which is a staggeringly depressing and distressing statistic. So yes, there is what you might call an emotional distress crisis or a mental health crisis in our schools, but we've got to go upstream now. We've got to really start looking at what is causing this overwhelm, what is causing our young children to explode and implode at such alarming rates. And the work that Thoughtbox is doing, the work that I'm doing with these programs and with colleagues and with schools, is to really start to embed holistic practice for long-term emotional health, and working on enhancing well-being, whatever that might mean, within a child, so that they start to feel connected. A lot of the research that's out there for the last 20 or 30 years is looking at disconnection as one of the biggest triggers of mental health. We are disconnected from each other, we're disconnected from ourselves, and we're disconnected from the natural world. And we're also disconnected from seeing how everything links together, looking at systems, looking at how everything is a part of a whole, and how we're all part of the system that we're functioning within. It's actually a really useful and beneficial way for young people to start to understand the complexities around them. And a lot of the work that Thoughtbox is doing directly in schools with some of our workshops is on systems thinking, helping children to connect the dots with some of the things happening around them and see that it's all just part of an intricate web. But looking at connection as a really vitalising support system for long-term emotional health feels a positive way to be supporting schools, because we're then looking at strategies for the long term. We're looking at long-term prevention so that we don't have continually escalating explosions of emotional distress, but we have children who are able to talk about their emotions openly, who are able to use embedded strategies for well-being because they've been practicing them throughout school, not just Monday morning 9 o'clock, let's do 10 minutes of well-being. So holistic practices that are embedded throughout a curriculum, throughout a school's ethos, and are actually part of a child's inherent learning rather than add-ons, seem really vital if we're going to be moving forward to a future for young children where mental health is not something that is happening all around them. It's something that they're learning, and we're all learning to regulate and to nourish with ourselves, with each other, and within the natural world. And the more we can openly talk about ways to help and support and to flourish within that healthy environment, this is where we've got to be looking at. We are going through quite a lot of societal, environmental shifts right now, and so connecting the dots on why these are happening will help all of us to start understanding some of the strategies we can use to support our own well-being and those of the children that we work with. Thank you.